I think we're back on again. Okay, well, Vince told me not to. Vince is my nephew. He told me not to try to center myself to move the camera and just sit here. Well, Karina told me to wear a shirt, and I didn't put it on because it's hot in my house right now. Hey, quit showing my tits off. Tom, now that thing's back in the middle of me again.
Move it. Click on it and move it over there.
Where do I click? Right here?
From the top there.
Right there.
Yeah, click it and drag it over.
Get out of the way. No. Well, it didn't change the view. Okay. Now, I left you guys at Slippery Slide. Vince told me I had to have a song after all this. Well, my song is Slippery Slide. You guys are going to have to put melody to it. Not the melody. You're going to have to put the tune to it. Because my fingers don't work. But I'm out there with these kids. And they got this rope swing thing. You swing out on over the water and drop it. Well, I'm brave enough. I jump on that darn swing. First thing I do, I go out there and I land wrong, and my conans are hitting on the goddamn rocks on the bottom of the pool. It's about where I landed, about 2 foot deep. And my head's underwater, and my conans are just like, I mean, we're talking hurt. And what was great about this place is the water pushed you to the shallow part. So you could throw kids in there and you didn't have to worry about them drowning. The water would push them out to the shallow. You didn't have to dive in the deep part to kill them. I mean, to save them. Now I'm clear out of that. That don't matter. And he wants me to sing songs about that. Well, I did. I don't sing them no more because I'll just tell you about them. You put your own melody to them. First time off the swings, hitting my conans on the rocks, and everybody laughing at me, and I was rocked. Had to get back out on the horse after that, and I'm telling you, I just waddled around in the water and threw rocks at the dam to get the water deeper because, whew, that hurt. That was my first experience at Slippery Slide with it hurting like hell. Those rocks got me bad because I should have landed on my butt. I just went crooked and landed feet down, and I missed my feet, and there went my conons. But it's up to Vince to put that to music. I did it. It is kind of a funny song. Conan's and a Slippery Slide. It's weird to think about all that shit and all that pain from way back then. Since of all the pain I've gone through since then, it's minor, especially because it happened then, not now. Okay, now back to the story. There's your song, Vince. You write it. You know, it's about my conans and Slippery Slide. I was still working for this old lady. We rode home on the horses, and my conans are hurting so bad I'm sitting on my back on the horse, keeping my balls up in the air. And we get back down. It's like 3 miles from my house to there on these horses. The kids are laughing all the way. They think it's funnier and shit. But we get off the horses, and then I grab some ice and I go to my little trailer. I was living in a little trailer outside your house. And I ice in my balls for all night long. I didn't even take time to get high or anything. I could hardly walk. But next morning came down and the pain went away, and I got up and started feeding the pigs and watering the garden, doing the stuff around the farm, you know, stoking the smoker because they were smoking hindquarters of pigs and deers and stuff and making beef jerky. And they had a pond in front of their house that was fed by a spring and a spring up the mountain. And Shirley said, well, go check the water system. Okay, well, where's the water system? She said, well, you climb up this hill and go make sure the screens are clean. Oh, okay. So I hiked up the way she said, and I'm following this little stream. And at the top of this little stream, they got this big old pond. And the filters in the pond that makes the little stream run, it's the overflow of this pond. And it's a natural springs out of the mountain. And they got a pipe in it that runs the whole house. I mean, this is the cleanest, beautifulest water you ever seen. Excuse me. So I'm in there, and this water is like ice cold, coming out of the ground. And I'm in there freezing my ass off trying to get all the filters clean and stuff. And I find this pipe that runs down to the house that's running the house water. So I figured out how that system worked and got it all cleaned up, and it worked great after that. But I understood all that. And this lady, Shirley Danko was her name. And she had this boyfriend. His name was Alex. Well, Alex was an old gold miner and trapper. I mean, he was just older than sin. I loved the guy to death because he always talked the truth. And he got me into packing these flatlanders. We always called them flatlanders because we lived in the mountains. These flatlanders wanted to go up hunting. And at that time, it was just getting to hunting season. So he had this string of burros. And we had burros and mules. And you'd load them up with packs of food and blankets and tents and stuff. And you'd take all these flatlanders up to the mountains. And we used to love to go up the Middle Fork. The Middle Fork, I mean, the trail up the Middle Fork, you had to cross the river about 20 times. And it was a great horse ride, especially when you're breaking in new horses. They'd never crossed the river with somebody on their back, and they were skittish. They'd see a squirrel and jump 20 feet sideways, it seemed like, and you'd have to stay on their back. I hit the ground a few times before I got used to which horse I was riding and knew where they were skittish, like a dog that something scares them and they jump, or a kid or a woman or anything. But after a while, those horses got to where they just loved that scene. You could fall asleep on them, and they knew where you were going and what was going on. And I used to take these guys up there, but Alex and Shirley, they packed a burro with nothing but this giant mattress covered in their sleeping bags, rolled up in the mattress, and then another burro behind them with all their food and camp gear. It's nothing like nowadays. They brought camp gear. They had cooking pots, and it was like being in a kitchen cooking over a campfire. And my job would get up there, take care of the animals, and collect the wood. And by the time I got back, they had their spot laid out with a huge mattress and a tent over them, an army tent, this great big old goddamn army tent. They packed clear up in the goddamn mountains because they were living in luxury up there in the hills. And you got all these 8 or 10 other packers that they're taking up to their hunt. So I get up real early in the morning, get all the horses fed, and wake all these guys up and feed them breakfast. Okay, come up. You go up this way and you go up this way. Make sure your guns are pointed in the right direction. Don't put nothing, don't cock the damn thing until you see an animal. These were idiots. Flatlanders were idiots. I mean, they almost killed each other. You got one over on this side, one on this side. I go up the head of the valley. I take a horse and go all the way around the head of the valley, and then I come down the middle, and I tell them, I'm coming down the middle. And I wore an orange sweater. That's me on the horse with the orange sweater. Do not shoot at me. The animals will be coming down the valley before me. All you guys got to just pay attention. Don't fall asleep. Go get too drunk or nothing. Shoot the animals as I bring them to you. I figured out I was a sitting duck. I was so lucky a couple times they missed the horse and missed my head, but it was spooky having those flatlanders up there thinking you're a deer in bright orange. What deer or elk wears bright orange? They just fall asleep and wake up all buck bound, and there it is, something's moving, let's shoot at it. It was crazy. So that first night I took them back in and got them bedded down and camped, and I went out and shot 2 elks, and it was the end of that trip. They had their elks, I loaded them up and convinced them to tell everybody, and here, hold it up, take a picture, you shot it. Don't tell anybody you tried to shoot me. What a wonderful trip. The Middle Fork of the Channel. What a song. Crossing the rivers with those half-wild horses. What a place to sing along. The words and the rhymes and the streams and the blood thrown through the mountains. It was such blood, One of these trips we took up there, well, a couple of the horses got old. The yearlings, they got loose. And they climbed up clear to the top. And they're going over the top to the next valley. And I'm up there trying to hunt them down, I'm behind them, but you can't spook them, you can't chase them. And I caught one of them, lassoed one of them, got him tied down, and Alex and Shirley was coming up behind me. And here's me on this old horse. This other horse went down on this glacier. And he crossed the glacier. He had nobody on his back. And he was headed down the other side where the glacier ended. So I'm trying to cross the top of this glacier. And the horse I'm on, he just starts sliding down the glacier. So I jump off the horse. On the wrong side, I jumped off the right side because he's sliding to the left. He's trying to dig his hoofs in, and he's just sliding down the glacier. And he goes down about 300 yards on this glacier. And there was this muddy spot in the middle of this glacier. And I seen this horse hit a log, a tree, standing up, sheared off, but he hit it right on his back on the saddle. And he spun around and he landed with his face facing me. I'm looking at this, can't do nothing about it. I still got his reins in my hand. I pulled him right off his head. And he's froze there in the mud, facing me. And I got to cross this glacier and get down to where this horse was. Because I wasn't going to leave this horse there. And it was dangerous shit. We were just going across the top of it. We weren't going down the glacier. But he started sliding on the top of it. So I climbed down to this horse. And here's this horse. The only place he's hurt was my fault. The bit cut one part of his mouth. because I was trying to hold him, you know, and that's all I had to hold on to until and he ripped it off his head. And the rest, he wasn't even hurt. I got to him, he was scared. By that time, it was middle of the night. By the time I climbed down the glacier and got to him, he's just down there scared as hell and so glad to see me. He wasn't a yearling no more. He was a scared pony, a big pony.